Welcome, gents. What happens when you realize that someone has been quietly pulling your strings, shaping your choices and influencing your emotions without you even noticing? For most people, that moment is unsettling. For a Sigma male, it is a turning point. This is where he takes the knife to the invisible threads and refuses to dance to anyone's tune again. Sigma males have an unusual ability to sense when someone is trying to steer their emotions. They pay attention to details others overlook, like the tone hidden under a compliment or the hesitation buried in a request. While others get caught up in the performance, they focus on what is driving it. This sharp awareness gives them an edge. Escaping emotional control is not about becoming cold or unreachable. It is about refusing to let someone else decide how you feel or what you do. A Sigma male understands that emotions are valuable, but they are only powerful when they belong to you and not to the person trying to manipulate them. This path is not easy. You will lose people who only stayed because they could influence you. You will face accusations, misunderstandings, and the pressure to conform again. But each time you resist, you become harder to control and stronger in your own skin. If you recognize these patterns in your life, remember this: you are not here to be someone's puppet. The moment you cut those strings, you are free to move exactly how you choose. That freedom is worth everything. Let's get started, gents. Number 1, they recognize emotional bait instantly. Most people have been there. Someone says something that feels harmless on the surface, but there is a subtle weight behind it. Maybe a friend suddenly reminds you of that one time you let them down, but they do it in a playful tone. Or a coworker pours out exaggerated praise right before asking for a favor they know you do not want to do. These little hooks are emotional bait, and many people take the bite without realizing it. Sigma males almost never do. They have a natural alertness to the hidden motives in people's words and actions. It is not about paranoia, it is about awareness. They notice the slight change in voice when someone tries to slip guilt into a conversation. They catch the way a person's eyes watch for their reaction after dropping a compliment. They read these signals like a headline and instantly decide whether to engage or not. For example, imagine someone saying, "I guess I will just do it myself since no one cares enough to help." Most people would feel a sudden urge to jump in and prove they care. A Sigma male recognizes the emotional bait immediately. He will not rush to soothe or defend himself because he sees the tactic for what it is, a subtle push to get compliance through guilt. The key is that they refuse to play that game. Instead of reacting on impulse, they pause. They weigh the situation without letting the other person's emotional tone dictate their response. Sometimes they choose to ignore it completely. Other times they respond in a way that makes it clear the bait did not land. In daily life, this skill keeps them from being pulled into unnecessary drama, toxic patterns, or manipulative relationships. It allows them to protect their emotional energy for people and situations that are genuine. And here is the truth: once you learn to spot emotional bait, you will notice it everywhere. The challenge then becomes having the strength to leave it dangling in the water while you keep swimming forward. That is the kind of control that changes everything. Number 2, they master the pause before responding. Have you ever been in a heated conversation where words are flying like sparks, and the other person is clearly expecting you to fire back instantly? That is exactly the moment where most people lose control. They react too fast, say something they regret, or get pulled into an emotional trap. Sigma males operate differently. They have mastered the art of pausing before they speak, and that tiny gap between hearing and responding is where their power lives. This pause is not hesitation, it is strategy. It is the space where they collect their thoughts, strip away emotional pressure, and see the situation for what it really is. Imagine someone saying, "So, I guess you just don't care about this project," with a sharp edge in their voice. Most people would rush to defend themselves. A Sigma male takes a breath, lets the silence hang for a moment, and in that quiet he can see the intention behind the words. Was it frustration, manipulation, an attempt to provoke? That pause gives him the clarity to choose his next move instead of being pushed into it. In everyday life, this habit shows up everywhere. If a customer is rude at a store counter, instead of snapping back, he lets the moment settle before answering. If a friend tries to guilt trip him into changing plans, he does not respond on the spot, but takes that beat to decide if it is worth engaging. The pause is his filter, and nothing gets through without being examined. That silence also has a psychological effect. People are not used to their words being met with calm stillness. It throws them off balance, forcing them to reveal more or back down. By the time he speaks, the heat has left the moment, and he controls the direction of the conversation. It is a small skill, but it changes the game. Master the pause, and you stop handing over control of your emotions. You respond from strength, not from impulse. And once you learn to do that, you will notice how many arguments, manipulations, and traps simply dissolve before they even begin. Number 3, they remove themselves from emotional environments. Most people underestimate the power of simply stepping away. We live in a world where everyone feels they must explain themselves, defend their choices, or stay in a conversation until it is resolved. Sigma males do not share that belief. They know when an environment is no longer healthy for their mind, and they have no problem removing themselves from it without turning it into a spectacle. Picture this. You're at a family gathering, and a harmless discussion slowly turns into a tense debate. Voices rise, personal comments start slipping in, and you can feel the air becoming heavier. Most people will stay put, either joining in or sitting silently, letting the tension gnaw at them. A Sigma male reads the room and quietly excuses himself. He might step outside for air or go to another part of the house. He does not storm out or slam doors. He simply exits, and that choice shields him from the emotional chaos unfolding. The same applies in the workplace. If a meeting starts drifting into personal attacks or office politics, he will remove himself once he realizes nothing productive can come from staying. Sometimes this is as simple as ending the call early or politely redirecting the conversation before disengaging completely. This is not avoidance, it is preservation. They understand that emotions are contagious. If the atmosphere is full of manipulation, blame, or unnecessary drama, staying too long means absorbing that energy. Instead, they protect their mental clarity by leaving the source behind. And here is what is fascinating. Their absence often speaks louder than anything they could have said. It sends a quiet message that they will not participate in emotional games. Over time, people learn not to try pulling them into that kind of environment because they know the result will be the same, a calm and decisive disappearance. It is a simple move, yet it takes confidence. The strength to walk away without a fuss is one of the clearest signs of someone who refuses to be controlled by the moods of others. Number 4. They identify the currency someone trades in. Every person you meet is dealing in some kind of currency, not the kind you keep in your wallet, but the kind that fuels their ego, drives their behavior, and shapes the way they interact with others. For some it is attention, for others it is sympathy. Some people feed on admiration while others thrive on fear. Sigma males are skilled at figuring out exactly what that currency is and deciding whether to give it or withhold it. Think about that coworker who always turns every conversation into a story about their struggles. They are not just venting, they are fishing for sympathy. Most people unknowingly hand over that sympathy like loose change. A Sigma male recognizes this pattern quickly. He listens without judgment, but he does not keep refilling their emotional jar. Or take the person who constantly tries to provoke others. Their currency is reaction. The sharper and more emotional, the better. The more you snap back, the richer they feel. Instead of paying up, the Sigma male gives them nothing. A calm response or complete silence leaves that person with empty hands. In relationships, this awareness is even more important. Some partners crave constant reassurance, and while that is not inherently bad, it can become manipulative when used to control someone's behavior. The Sigma male can see the difference between genuine need and a power play, and he adjusts accordingly. By identifying the currency someone trades in, he makes sure he is not funding behavior that is harmful or self-serving. This keeps him from being drawn into cycles where his emotional energy is drained without return. It is like stepping into a marketplace and knowing exactly which stalls are worth buying from and which are selling overpriced nonsense. Once you see the transaction for what it is, you no longer spend recklessly. You keep your emotional resources for the places and people where they matter most, and you never feel pressured to pay someone in the currency they crave just because they are demanding it. That is how control quietly shifts back into your hands. Number 5. They question the origin of every strong feeling. Strong feelings have a way of taking over before you even know what is happening. One moment you are calm, and the next you are burning with anger, flooded with guilt, or overflowing with excitement. Most people ride that emotional wave without ever asking how it started. Sigma males take a different route. Before they let a powerful feeling push them into action, they stop and ask a simple but crucial question. Is this truly mine, or did someone else put it here? It might be an argument where a friend suddenly accuses you of not caring. The sting hits fast, and most people would jump in to defend themselves. A Sigma male pauses. He traces the feeling back, like following a trail. Was there actually proof that he does not care, or is this accusation just a tactic to trigger guilt? That extra moment of investigation can be the difference between reacting and responding with clarity. The same applies to excitement. Imagine being offered an opportunity that sounds incredible on the surface. While others might get swept up in the rush, a Sigma male questions where that rush comes from. Is it genuine enthusiasm based on facts, or is it the result of clever persuasion designed to make the offer feel urgent and irresistible? By doing this, he avoids becoming a passenger in someone else's emotional vehicle. He keeps his hands on the steering wheel of his own choices. This habit shields him from manipulation, marketing tricks, peer pressure, and even self-sabotage. In everyday life, questioning the origin of strong feelings is like running a security check before opening a door. It stops unwanted influences from slipping inside and shaping your actions without your consent. Over time, this skill becomes second nature, and emotional clarity turns into a quiet kind of strength. Once you start asking yourself where your feelings come from, you begin to see just how many of them were never really yours in the first place. That realization alone changes the way you move through the world. Number 6, they never confuse empathy with surrender. Empathy is one of the most misunderstood strengths a person can have. Many people think that if you truly understand someone's emotions, you are supposed to adjust yourself to make them feel better, even if it costs you. Sigma males see it differently. They can step fully into someone's perspective, feel the weight of their struggles, and even care deeply about their pain, yet still make choices that align with their own principles and boundaries. Picture this. A close friend is furious because you did not take their advice. You can see exactly why they are upset. You understand their frustration, and you know their intentions were good. Most people in this moment would bend to keep the peace. A Sigma male listens, acknowledges their feelings, but still stands by his decision if he knows it was the right one for him. His empathy allows him to see their side, but it does not require him to abandon his own. The same applies in more emotionally charged situations. Imagine a partner who is unhappy because you are not giving in to something they want. The Sigma male can feel their disappointment without letting it steer his choices into territory that feels wrong or unfair. He recognizes that compassion is not the same as compliance. This balance is rare because emotions are persuasive. When you care for someone, it is tempting to give them what they want just to relieve their discomfort. Sigma males resist that pull. They know that surrendering your values in the name of empathy eventually breeds resentment and weakens trust. In daily life, this means they can comfort without being controlled, help without being drained, and love without losing themselves. Empathy in their hands is not a doorway for manipulation, but a bridge for understanding. They walk that bridge willingly, but they never allow someone else to use it to drag them away from their own ground. That distinction is what keeps their compassion strong and their independence intact. Number 7. They refuse to trade integrity for harmony. There comes a moment in life when you have to choose between what feels easy and what feels right. Many people will choose the easy path. They will smile, nod, and agree just to keep things smooth, even if that means betraying their own beliefs in the process. Sigma males do not move that way. They would rather sit in the discomfort of tension than sell out their integrity for a false sense of peace. Imagine a work meeting where everyone is agreeing to a decision that you know is flawed or even dishonest. Most people stay quiet to avoid rocking the boat. A Sigma male speaks up, even if his words create an uncomfortable silence. He understands that temporary conflict is far better than the long-term damage of abandoning his principles. This mindset shows up in relationships too. Suppose a partner is pressuring them to compromise on something that goes against their core values. Instead of bending just to keep the relationship free from arguments, they hold their ground. The conversation may be difficult, emotions may run high, but they know that harmony built on dishonesty is fragile and doomed to collapse. They are not reckless or confrontational by nature, but they have a clear internal line they refuse to cross. They see integrity as a foundation. If you weaken it to make others comfortable, you lose something far more valuable than their temporary approval. This choice often comes with a cost. People may call them stubborn, cold, or uncooperative. But Sigma males would rather carry those labels than live with the quiet weight of knowing they betrayed themselves. In everyday life, this approach makes them dependable and consistent. You always know where they stand, and you never have to wonder if they mean what they say. To them, real harmony is not about everyone smiling. It is about standing in truth, even if that truth shakes the ground for a while. That is a kind of peace that does not crumble when tested. Number 8, they cut through narratives. Some people do not just share events. They package them in layers of emotion, exaggeration, and selective detail until the story becomes more about the performance than the truth. Most listeners get swept up in the delivery, reacting to the drama instead of the reality. Sigma males take a different approach. They listen closely, but their focus is not on the colorful wrapping. They're digging for the plain facts buried underneath. Picture someone explaining a disagreement with a co-worker. They paint themselves as the victim, pile on descriptions of the other person's tone, and throw in a few dramatic pauses for effect. While most people would respond with outrage on their behalf, a Sigma male mentally filters out the emotional noise. He zeroes in on what actually happened, who said what decisions were made, and what the real outcome was. The feelings may still matter, but they do not dictate his understanding of the situation. This ability is especially useful in conflict resolution. Emotions can distort memory, making people unintentionally twist details to support their side. By cutting through the narrative and isolating facts, Sigma males avoid being manipulated into taking a stance based on incomplete or biased information. Even outside of personal relationships, this skill is powerful. News stories, sales pitches, and political speeches are often wrapped in persuasive language meant to stir emotions. The Sigma male hears the message but mentally strips it down to the measurable truths before forming an opinion. This does not mean they dismiss feelings altogether. They understand that emotions are real and worth acknowledging, but they refuse to let them replace reality. By separating facts from the emotional packaging, they make decisions rooted in clarity, not in the heat of the moment. In a world where storytelling often overshadows truth, their approach is both rare and refreshing. It keeps them grounded, difficult to deceive, and able to navigate situations with a level head while others are lost in the theater of the moment. Number 9, they measure relationships by consistency. Some people can create a dazzling impression in a single moment. They know how to turn on the charm, give the perfect compliment, or create a rush of excitement that makes you feel like you have found someone truly special. The problem is, these moments can be misleading. Sigma males are not easily swayed by them. They look past the fireworks and watch for something far more telling: consistency. To them, relationships, whether personal or professional, are built on patterns, not peaks. Anyone can be kind, attentive, or generous once in a while. What matters is whether those traits show up again and again, especially when there is no audience and nothing to gain. Imagine meeting someone who showers you with attention for the first 2 weeks, then slowly becomes distant or unreliable. Most people will excuse the shift, clinging to the memory of how amazing things felt at the start. A Sigma male notices the change and adjusts his expectations accordingly. He understands that true character is revealed in the everyday moments, not in the occasional grand gestures. The same principle applies in friendships and business. A colleague who promises the world during a big meeting but never follows through does not earn their trust. A friend who only checks in during celebrations but disappears when life gets hard does not rank as dependable in their eyes. By measuring relationships this way, Sigma males protect themselves from being pulled in by emotional highs that have no lasting foundation. This makes it harder for manipulative people to use bursts of charm as a hook. They know that steady, reliable behavior is not as flashy as grand moments, but it is the only thing that holds up over time. In their world, loyalty is proven in the quiet, unremarkable days. Anyone can light a fire for a moment. Few can keep it burning without pause. Those are the people a Sigma male lets into his inner circle. Everyone else remains at a safe distance, no matter how impressive they seem in the beginning. Number 10. They know when to vanish entirely. There is a point where patience runs out and observation turns into decision. Sigma males understand that some people will not stop trying to control them, no matter how many boundaries are set or how many conversations are had. When they reach that point, they do something most people struggle to do. They vanish completely. No arguments, no long explanations, no dramatic exit, just gone. This is not about pettiness or revenge. It is about self-preservation. If a person has shown, time after time, that they will use guilt, manipulation, or emotional games to keep a hold, the Sigma male sees no value in staying connected. He knows that trying to fix or manage the relationship would only prolong the cycle. Imagine a friend who constantly uses your compassion against you, making every interaction about how much you owe them. Or a partner who responds to your boundaries with silent treatment or emotional outbursts until you bend. Many people stay, hoping the other person will change. The Sigma male recognizes when hope has turned into self-delusion. That is when he removes himself entirely. What makes this move powerful is the lack of ceremony. There is no drawn-out goodbye for the manipulator to twist, no final conversation where guilt can be planted. By disappearing quietly, he closes the door without giving the other person a foothold to pry it open again. It can be shocking for those on the receiving end because they are used to people staying, negotiating, or apologizing. But the Sigma male knows his peace is more important than keeping someone else comfortable. Once he decides a connection is beyond repair, his absence is permanent. This willingness to vanish is not coldness, it is clarity. It is the understanding that sometimes the only way to cut the puppet strings is to walk away so far that they can never reach you again. And when that happens, there is no coming back. Number 11, he studies the anatomy of his triggers. Most people know they have triggers, but they treat them like landmines they hope to avoid. Sigma males take a different approach. They study them. They want to understand every inch of what sets them off, where it comes from, and how it can be disarmed. To them, a trigger is not something to fear. It is something to dissect. Picture someone who always manages to get under your skin with a single comment. Maybe they hint that you are not doing enough, or they bring up an old mistake at just the right moment. The average person reacts instantly, falling into the same emotional trap every time. A Sigma male notices the pattern and asks the harder question, why does that specific comment sting so much? Is it linked to past criticism? Is it tapping into an insecurity that has never been addressed? Once he identifies the root, he works on dismantling it. That might mean reframing the memory, reminding himself of his growth, or removing the false belief that the trigger relies on. Over time, the emotional charge weakens until those once powerful buttons feel like they are not even connected to anything anymore. This process makes it incredibly difficult for others to control him. Manipulators often rely on predictable reactions. If they know which strings to pull, they can keep you dancing. But when those strings are cut, they are left holding nothing. It also changes the way he interacts with the world. Instead of avoiding situations out of fear of being triggered, he moves through them with calm confidence. There is no longer the looming threat of someone getting to him, because he has already done the work to strip their influence away. In the end, studying the anatomy of his triggers is not just about self-control. It is about reclaiming ownership of his emotional landscape so completely that no one else gets to decide what he feels or how he responds. That kind of mastery is rare, and once it is achieved, it is nearly impossible to undo. Number 12, they treat validation as optional. Most people spend a surprising amount of time waiting for a green light from others before they take action. They want a nod, a smile, or some kind of reassurance that says, yes, you are making the right move. Sigma males are wired differently. For them, validation is like an accessory. It is nice if it shows up, but they are not going to pause their plans or shrink their vision just to get it. Think about a student who knows their project is solid, but still hesitates to present it because they want to hear from friends. That's amazing. Now imagine someone who, instead of asking around, simply prepares and delivers it because they believe in the work. That is the Sigma male's approach in almost every area of life. It is not arrogance, it is clarity. They have already run the decision through their own filter, weighed the pros and cons, and considered possible outcomes. Once their internal compass points in a direction, outside applause or criticism becomes background noise. They are not disrespecting others' opinions, but they refuse to let those opinions become the engine that drives their choices. This mindset frees them from the emotional tug-of-war many people live in. They do not waste weeks trying to please one group while avoiding upsetting another. They simply act and let the results speak for themselves. Sometimes it works beautifully, sometimes it fails. Either way, they own the outcome completely because it was their call from the start. And here's the thing, this independence often inspires quiet respect. People notice when someone moves with conviction instead of constantly checking the emotional weather. It sends a silent but powerful message. I decide my path, and I will stand by it. That kind of confidence is rare, and it is exactly why Sigma males do not treat validation as a necessity, but as an optional bonus they can live without. In final words, what would your life look like if no one could pull your strings? If every decision, reaction, and choice came from a place of clarity instead of someone else's influence? That is the freedom Sigma males fight for, and it is a freedom worth guarding with everything you have. Escaping emotional control is not about becoming cold or shutting yourself off from people. It is about refusing to let your emotions be tools for someone else's gain. It means learning to see the traps in guilt, the hooks in flattery, and the pressure hidden in expectation. It is the discipline of pausing before reacting, of stepping back when the air turns toxic, of choosing facts over drama. The truth is, people will always have agendas. Some will be harmless, others will be subtle, and a few will be relentless in trying to shape you for their own benefit. But once you sharpen your awareness and strengthen your boundaries, their power fades. They can try the same tactics again and again, but the strings no longer attach. You will lose certain connections along the way, and that is fine. Any bond that depends on controlling you is not a bond worth keeping. What remains will be the relationships built on respect, truth, and mutual freedom. Those are rare, but they are the ones that last. So take the knife to the threads that hold you back. You do not owe anyone your reactions, your compliance, or your peace. You are not here to perform for someone else's comfort. You are here to move on your own terms, with your own mind and with your own strength. Once you cut those strings, you will never want them back. Thank you for watching, gents, and God bless you.